Hello, my name is Delle. I am a targeted individual, and after doing an interview with another popular targeted individual couple, whom I respect and appreciate that opportunity, I figured I would come on here and kind of make my own thing, make my own profile, and I don't know, maybe share information with other TIs and show the world and the community that there are real fucking TIs out here, and we are out there. So a little bit about myself. My name is Delle. I'm from California, and that is where my targeting started. I am in my early mid 30s. I do not consent. I don't consent to any of this targeting. I don't give permission. I never have. I never will. I do not consent. And now that that is out of the way, I experience just about anything a TI could experience. And if there's more, fuck, don't tell me, because you'll give them ideas. Okay. I've already inadvertently done that way too many times. So let's not inspire my perps, please. Thank you. But I do experience the V2K constantly. It's been almost a year straight after having about a 2-year break. It's been almost a year straight, coming up in a couple days, of the V2K, of the RNM, of the directed energy weapons, dream manipulation. I have a whole list. It's long, and it's 2 fucking pages, and it's everything's horrible. Well, not everything. I don't want to come on here and sound mega bleak. My whole goal for this is inspiration, representation, and also sharing information, receiving information, all of that. So not everything is entirely like super mega awful, but I will say that this life of a TI is not one that I'd wish on anyone. Let's see. So my targeting started in 2019. I was up in a pot farm in Mendocino County, and there was a small little mountaintop farm, supposedly legal. I mean, it looked legal, but I don't know anything. It was my first experience, so I had no idea. But you gotta be wary of those small towns, because the V2K perps are telling me, like, most of the town, or all of the town, everyone in that entire town, like, who lived there, like, knows exactly what they do to people. So you gotta be wary of small towns, and even if you bring a friend, your friends can be turned. So when people are dangling money, power, and technology in your face, not a lot of people will turn away from that. Even if you think you know them or trust them, or, so just be careful of people. Not to say don't live your life and, meet new people and things like that. Just be wary, be aware, as much aware as you can, and, take your experiences and the experiences of other, real TIs, and apply that information to your new experiences. But anyway, I was up in the pot farm, and there was like a 5-day period where I wasn't able to sleep for some reason, and we were doing some partying and stuff, but I wouldn't allow myself to fall asleep in like a surrounding I wasn't super comfortable or familiar with. Because we had gone down to Santa Cruz, me and one other person, gone down to Santa Cruz, and I wasn't able to sleep. And then when I came back, I still wasn't able to sleep. Back to the mountain in Mendocino. And at some point, I started hearing them, and, I had to wonder, was I implanted at some point during that time? Like after I finally did conk out. But before I was able to sleep, I started hearing the V2K, and, of course, the onset, I had no idea what was happening. I'm like, oh fuck, I've actually finally lost it. All of this partying and things like that have, caught up to me, and I'm actually certifiably bonkers. And later down the line, that idea was kind of instilled in me even more, because one of the honeypots, or one of those friends I was talking about that, had the money, tech, and power dangled in front of them, who succumbed to that shit, was like, yo, you're crazy. Let's take you to a mental hospital. And that is just something that messed me up, that endeavor made it so that, none of my family and even some of my friends, before like all of the targeting started presenting itself, that I had before this issue started presenting themselves, like, it discredited me even more so. So now when I'm like, having bad days and, I'm talking to myself, but I'm not talking to myself, I've got, perps in my brain, people are like, oh, are you taking your medicine? And I'm like, dude, medicine's not going to help, unfortunately. Tried it. We'll get there. Anyway, back to the mountain, onset, honeypot, the honeypot, friend was, I took fucking notes here. I can't remember what I know. Yeah, it took me to the mental urgent care, back here in hometown. And I got the diagnosis. Oh, you're a schizoaffective disorder, and you're also got not bipolar disorder, and BPD. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Here's meds. Oh, okay, great. And so I start taking the meds, right? And I'm going through, lots of time taking these meds and having to constantly change them because I'm having adverse side effects. Like, akathisia was one of the worst ones, where it's like, I can't sit still, but I want to sit still. I want to rest, but like my skin wants to jump off of all of my nerves. It's one of the worst times ever. It was pretty bad, but, let's see, got on the meds, and then I'm starting to hang out with this, the honeypot that, went up there with us to the mountain, because I wasn't 100% sure. Like, the perps voices in my head were the people I was working with at the mountain. We'll just call them supervisor, supervisor's boss, and then supervisor's brother, who was like, bankrolling the whole farm ordeal. And then honeypot. I was hearing them all in my head and thinking I'm, losing it. So after I get home, I'm still like talking to honeypot. I'm still, interacting, thinking that this person is a friend, and I'm ignoring what's going on in my head. And eventually I stopped talking to that person. And then I'm starting to hear things like, you've got to sacrifice yourself for your family. And, they start instilling all these weird little trigger words in my head, like, why do you do this to yourself? Which is something that they still say to me every now and then, which is really annoying. They try to get me to say it. They have all of these little trigger words that they try to get me to repeat them. And nowadays, it's a little bit more effective than it was in the beginning, unfortunately. They say things like, why do you do this to yourself? Or get to the hospital now, or, some kind of nonsense like that, But of course, there's more, full-blown conversations. Most of it's really insulting and awful. But sometimes it's actually helpful. Sometimes and I don't even want to go as far as say it's helpful, but like, they also keep telling me things like, you can't die accidentally. You have to choose. You have to make the choice. You have to do it yourself. And I'm like, ew, no interest. So I end up trying to take the meds for a while and just live with the onset of this awful situation, just the constant V2K. And ultimately they tell me that I have to like sacrifice myself for my family and or something like that. So I end up going off and, trying to do some dumb shit, try to end my life. And I end up at the mental health hospital on some 5150 type ish. And I stay there for about 5 days, giving me lots of medications and things like that. And I spent a lot of that time sleeping and then, participating in group activities so that I can just get out of there as soon as possible. Because obviously my will to live is just extremely strong. Woo. I don't wish this life on anyone, but I also don't think anyone, including myself, should ever, make the decision to take theirs. Because not that it's just not right. It's just like, finish your experience, finish the game. Let me see. Coming to explanation, but oh, right. So, during that time, I'm like battling back and forth in my mind, like, is this really mental disorders? Which made me really willing to take the medications. And I did for a long time. Like I said, I started experiencing side effects. And so we're having to constantly change the medication, change the strength of the medication, give me additional medications to offset the side effects. And, it's a pretty awful time. But I also do try to entertain, like, yo, it's their specific voices I'm hearing in my head. Like, how are they not a part of it? And there are some things that happen in the surface world, as I call it, the surface world, which is the real, base reality world, as opposed to head world, like, V2K inside, it's internal, that type of situation. I'm experiencing, and I'm witnessing some things from the mountaintop that I recall, in the surface world, where I can hear, the mountain people and some of the other workers that were on the farm, like saying really disrespectful things like, she must not know who we are. That's something that is always, like, ever since that time, it's just been kind of like not repeated, but, I think of every now and then because, that was during the whole entire onset of me, like, experiencing the V2K and the R&M, like, she must not know who we are. And then they would make comments on things that I was doing. And then I would open the door to the cabin and they're just like, oh, this one's got a laptop and this one's just chatting or, doing something in the kitchen or on their phone or some shit. And I'm like, well, maybe I am losing it. But anyway, I actually, what I call nowadays blue pilled, which is like the reference matrix. Blue pilling is, just trying to, not assimilate, but like, deny the situation at hand, if you will. Blue pilling. I settled on the belief that it was, mental disorder. And like, I'm going through all the things like, does my family have any history of mental illness? And the answer is like, we've got some sad manic people, like we've got bipolar, but we don't have schizophrenia in the family. And I still allowed myself for about 2 years to believe that, because I start taking the medication and the V2K stops entirely. I know that's really weird, and I thought it's, and still think it's weird to this day. And I, the explanation I get or that I come up with is like, they were just using that time to study my brain, integrate the AI, if they're using that, into my brain. And so they can predict, how I'm going to react, what I'm going to think. And so I had about a 2-year break where I was able to just like live my life. I went to school for veterinary medicine, but I was offered a job, like a quarter of the way into that. So I quit school and worked my first corporate vet med job. And I'm like, wow, I love this. It's really catty and lots of drama in there. Like, it's sure that's how it is anywhere, but like there's something about vet med that brings like the most cattiest, most people together for the love of taking care of animals, because you don't get into vet med for money unless you're going to be a doctor. And even then, I have doctor friends who are like, corporate sucks and, whatever. So I get this job, and then I get another veterinary medicine job, which I thoroughly enjoyed. But once again, the same issues as catty. And I can be a bit obstinate, but that's just my MO. It's for the love of the animal and for the health and treatment of the animal. I ended up getting a puppy. I have a puppy poodle during my second job. And she's mostly amazing. But I love her to death. She's my, companion animal. And for TIs out there who are just kind of roughing this alone, who have like no family support or little family support, like they'll still like care about you and things like that, but they won't give you the support you need, the dialogues you need to have regarding, this situation that you're experiencing with the being a TI, it really helps. Animals don't really talk back to you in English per se, but, having a companion animal is really nice. And I've got a couple now. I've lost a couple since my targeting started. We can go into that in the future if you're still here. Let's see. I have to write everything down because I've been targeted since 2019, right? And even though the V2K did stop for 2 years, I believe it went on, that entire time with the studying and then the learning. And what was I saying? Brain fog. Yeah, exactly. I'm really foggy brained a lot of the time and forgetful. So if I don't write stuff down, I will forget most of the time. Or at least I'll have a difficult time staying on track. Anyway, back to it. November 29th, 2023. Oh, right. So as I'm working this second job in veterinary medicine, I'm finally able to do like a surgery assist, and I'm just super juiced about that. I'm gearing up, fucking scrub up, all that good stuff. And I complained on my social media page that I had no one to share my accomplishments with because my family at the time was just not speaking to me. I didn't write that down, but as I remember now, my family went about a year and a half, like a really long time, like without saying a single fucking word to me. And I'm living right here in the house with them. And that was rough, and it made me feel very, very alone. So I get this accomplishment, and I'm like, damn, all of my real, like, longtime friends have moved away, and I have no one to celebrate with. So I post on Facebook, and honeypot, bam, just the perfect opportunity for that peso de merda to come into my life again. And I know I shouldn't have, like, in retrospect, but you have to remember that at this point in time, because the V2K had stopped, I did believe it was from mental disease. I was so sure of it, kinda. Mostly. But, like, sad enough and wanting to, like, share, like, joy with someone that I really had strong feelings for at some point. Like, so I allowed him to come back into my life, and I spent some time with this fella, going out, going to bar, partying, celebrating, and I swear at some point neural dust was involved, because on November 29th, maybe like a couple weeks after I started talking to this MFer again, November 29th, 2023, V2K comes back. And I swear, right as it started up again, his voice comes into my head and was telling me that in the surface world, he was warning me to not leave my job. he was warning me to not leave my job. In my head world, right? And then in surface world, all of these, awful things start happening again. So I'm like, dang, I should have trusted my instincts. I should have remembered, that this bleeper was like, one of the first voices I heard in my head. And I should have never trusted him again. But during the re-onset in 2023, in November last year, I'm like having all of these experiences where I'm going to the hospital frequently because I'm having like heart palpitations. I'm having like really abnormally speeding heartbeats where I'm literally laying in bed trying to sleep at like 7 o'clock in the morning, like thinking I'm dying. So I'm constantly going to different emergency rooms in my area to like try to get some help. And I go there, they do all of the lab work, all of the diagnostics. Like as a person in veterinary medicine, I understand it's different for humans as it is for dogs and cats and reptiles and shit. But a lot of the diagnostics are the same. If you've got heart problems, you get blood work done, you get imaging done, and that's what they did at every time I went to the emergency hospital. And it was many times, more times than I can count on one hand. They did the diagnostics. The results come back hours later, after my heart rate and everything returns to normal. And they're like, you're good. You're having a panic attack. Do you know what anxiety is? Let's give you some anxiety medication. So as a person who has experienced anxiety my entire life, I do recognize that I was not having anxiety attacks. I was being victim of friggin' RNM. I mean, not RNM, DEWs. And that's some of the first physical sensations that I ever felt from the DEWs is the extreme heart palpitations. Later on, they started, heating me up. If I'm experiencing cold, they make me cold. I was watching another targeted individual's interviews where he was saying, I get shocked, and that was not happening to me. And I had a thought in my head as I was, after I observed him saying that, like, dang, I'm glad that doesn't happen to me. And then, a little while later, bam, I start getting shocked. And I get shocked everywhere. I'm talking everywhere, in my nose, in my ears. I even had an eyeball shock the other day, and I was like, are y'all shocking my eyeball? Like, what is wrong with you guys? It's not funny, but it's something you'll learn about me if you stick around my channel, given I upload more videos, because this takes a lot of balls. We'll see if I upload this. But I use like laughing and humor to try to like keep myself from being extremely emotionally sad and going down to, sad emotional places, because like the life of a TI is stressful as fuck. So anyway, back to this damn story. Visits for the heart palps. I get referred to a cardiologist after, trying to get my primary care physician, a nurse practitioner, to give me a referral. I got it. I went. They did lots of heart, cardiac specific diagnostics there as well. And I even wore a heart monitor for 5 days. And everything came back normal. Everything came back normal. Everything was cleared. So, I'm over here like, okay, so if my heart is fine, then why do I feel like I'm having, heart attacks constantly? And I did, and I was, I even had like really rapid heartbeat as I was just watching before I started recording this video, another interview, between, folks that I did an interview with and another TI. So, they come strong with that, and, they're heating the shit up out of me right now. My head is on fire. My cheeks are kind of a little rosy, but, we continue. Let me see. So, back to the story. I get cleared for the cardiologist, and I just continue on, and I'm still experiencing the V2K, and I'm just trying to cope. I'm not taking any medications anymore at this point. And it was a while. It's been a while, and so I was like, all right, I've coped enough with this that I feel confident enough to try to rejoin the workforce. So I'm like, I love some Starbucks. So I applied and I got a job at Starbucks. On the very first day, I'm literally going to head to work. I already got onboarding. I got the hire. I was going to start training. On that day, they come at me really hard with the threats, really hard with if you don't sacrifice yourself or your family's next type stuff. So, at this point, I would do anything for my family. So, it was really more like, unalive. And I'm like, no. So, I end up going back to the mental health hospital, and my family brings me there because I am frantic. I am losing it. They're hitting me hard with the V2K. I don't remember what dues they were using, like what physically things they were doing to me that day, but it was really rough. And I decided that going to the hospital would be, the best thing for me. Not going back blue pilling, not going back to the belief that maybe I'm schizophrenic, but more like, maybe this will lessen the effects, that I might have on my family, thinking like maybe if I relocate, they would be a little bit safer. I don't really remember what my thought process was at the time, but I believe that leaving would be helpful. So, my family pretty much also, because I was so frantic, threatened to take me there, or kick me out. And so I allowed them to take me to the hospital. And, I was there for another 5 days. Same story as the first time, participated in the groups and, ate food, even though the second time around was like way worse because I was fully aware what was happening to me that time, as opposed to the first time where I was like, these medications will start to help me. And, they did by proxy, but, yeah, so I'm extremely paranoid. I'm like, thinking that, a lot of the people who work there, are gang stalkers and perpetrators, and that they were, going to poison me. And so I kind of did refuse food every now and then, but I'd get hungry enough to where I'd be like, no, I gotta eat something. And we big girl, we like to eat. So we ate some of that, and I have all these allergies, whatever. Either way, I participated. I did what they wanted me to do. I got out in 5 days, and, I just tried to exist at home after that. During this time, I'm bouncing back and forth between my two families' houses. They're about 45 minutes apart from each other in the area that we're in. So, I would go back and forth between them. And then when one got unbearable, I went to the other. And then that just kept happening over and over and over and over again. And coming up to kind of recent history, I was ready to go back into the job force again. Coping with this, with all of these different tortures, I was like, okay, we can do this now. Again, let's try. So I did. I had a friend from one of my last jobs offer me a position at her hospital, and I went, and that was a bad decision. First off, I prefer to work in the treatment room with the patients and the doctors, not as a receptionist. Not knocking the job of receptionist. I've done it. I respect it. It's just not where my heart is, and if you speak to other receptionists, some of them are going to say, this is not where my heart is either. Whatever your experience. No, there's no disrespect. It's just for me, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in the medicine, hands-on. But the biggest issue wasn't the work. The work was busying. For a receptionist job, that was literally the busiest. There were so many tasks to do, and that is just unheard of. There were so many tasks to do. Sometimes you wouldn't even finish all of your tasks in your whole shift. Like, it was crazy. But on one hand, I appreciated that because, as long as I could keep my hands occupied, and my mind mostly occupied, I was okay. But there were bad days because I was getting the V2K the whole time, and I'm having to interact with emotional clients. It's veterinary medicine. Sometimes it's really sad, and sometimes it's really amazing, and sometimes it's routine. But all these different situations. But I was getting hit with the V2K with the dues. They were seriously making me itchy everywhere. Sometimes they were shocking me, and I'm trying to focus on work and trying to interact with clients and take every opportunity I could to pet and snuggles the cute doggies. And if the kitties were nice, we would pet the kitties too. But, it was just really tough. And ultimately, my boss, allowed, because I knew her outside of work, from our previous job, she allowed that kind of power over me. At least I think this is on my perception. You might hear something different from her, and that's fine. Go ask her. Okay. But from my perception, she, became really emotional with me and, knows I was going through a hard time. She would yell at me. She would get so emotionally, outside of calm. She even had the corporate district, whatever, on the phone to do a counseling, which is just another way that hospital did a write-up. She got so emotional with that person, the corporate person, on the phone, and was screaming to where that corporate person had to be yo, calm down, stop yelling. And she had to raise her voice. I mean, it was bad. And unfortunately, nothing was done, to help me get protection from her emotional outbursts. So I left, and now I don't have a job. And, in between all of those times where I did not have a job, I used Indeed. I went on to, other hospitals because I want to work in vet med. So I'm pretty much applying mostly to veterinary medicine jobs. But it's it does seem like I'm blacklisted in a way. I know that happens to a lot of TIs. It's very hard to get a job because they don't want you to work. And I understand, and I also don't understand that because, if you're busy, you're idle, you're distracted, you're not focusing on how distressing the situation is. You're not giving them your full attention. And that's where I'm at now. I'm still applying. I'm going on interviews. I had one on Friday. I have another interview on Thursday with another hospital. And I'm lucky to even get that far, to get, some of them to respond to me, because I can send out 30 applications on Indeed or on the hospital websites, and I'll get back 3 responses, and it definitely feels really blacklisty, unfortunately. So I'm having a hard time finding a job. I really would like to get out more. I've been walking my dog a lot more. I recently started skating, longboarding. I hurt myself after the first time though, because it's been a while, and my dog, she'd never been on a longboard, never went on a walk with someone on a longboard. And when she finally got oh, if I pull Or if I run, we'll go faster and I can run longer. And so she starts running and I'm like wobbly, like just starting to like remember how to longboard. And she's just like, skirt. And I'm like, whoa, calm down. And whatever. I didn't fall, but I ended up having to jump off the board and I hurt my ankle. But whatever. I've been skating a couple times since then, and we leave the dog at home. Okay. I'll do better without her. Anyway, story is pretty much almost over. I'm looking for a job. Just trying to find another job. During this time though, my last job before I walked out, before I quit, I met this guy online in this game that I play, and League of Legends. And for the longest time, like I didn't really hear his voice in my head. You know, I didn't really hear him in the V2K, so I allowed myself to continue talking to him, just thinking, you know, oh, it's just, you know, a gamer thing. And if you're a gamer, you know, having gamer bros and sisses is like some of the best ever, because if you use your, you know, gamings to like cope and just, that's how you like to spend your time, then it's great to have, you know, regular people that you play with. So I started, you know, talking to this guy, getting really close to this guy, you know, talking to him, texting and things like that. And, you know, the perps are starting to make comments, you know, on him, and, that would involve him, and things that they want me to think that he's thinking, and things like that. So I would, you know, a lot recently. This is recent history. It was just so disturbing, and it got to a point where like I would, you know, talk, game, text, call. You know, phone calls. We're talking a lot. We're like video chatting on Discord and shit every now and then. And it got to the point where I would suspect him of being a honey trap. Not even just a honey pot, like a whole trap, that I would have to stop talking to him for extended periods of time. And I went like ghost for about a month. But like, you know, I'm thinking about him the whole entire time. So I ended up hitting him back up, talking more, gaming more, pretty much picking right back up where we left off. And this recently stopped, maybe a week ago. You know, me not being able to trust that he's not a honey trap, just because of how severe the V2K is about it. And I know that they will use people's voice. They used my mom's voice. They used my brother's voice. They used my dad's voice. They used a lot of people who were close to me. They used people whose voices were just somewhere in my memory while I was on the mountain. And we're sleeping in tents, mind you. While I was on the mountain, during kind of like the onset of this, they played my ex's father's voice in my head. Like, what? But it irked me, you know? And so, you know, I understand that they're very capable of replicating other people's voice and putting them in your head. They do that with my cardiologist, my therapist, my primary care physician, like all of the doctors, professionals, some of my friends, my bestie. They didn't do it too much with her, because I'm like, no, I've known her at this point in my life, like 16 years, like you ain't getting my bestie. I'm sorry, you know? But you know, it's when it first starts, you know, you don't know what's going on. So it's hard to believe that they're not actually, you know, a part of it, that they're not in your head, that you weren't sold out, that you weren't like, what they call it, smear campaigned enough for people close to you in your life to, you know, want to jump onto the bandwagon of being a perp, of being a gang stalker. So, I recognize that. But with this guy, it's just too hard. It's too difficult because I can't prove it. You know, I can't really I can look him in the face and everything, like online and stuff, but it's just video chats, you know? So, you know, that got too difficult. And unfortunately, we had to stop. We had to stop talking to people. And, I'm at this point where I'm like, it's really hard to trust anyone. Any random person I might meet, like, because I still like to enjoy my life. Like, don't get me wrong. I'll go out to the bar. I'll go out to the club. I go to the goth clubs because that's my thing. It's just my thing. And I'll dance, and I will dance and dance and dance and dance and dance and dance for hours because it feels like freeing. It feels like I have control over what I'm doing and how I'm moving. And I just really like that freedom of expression. And the music is really good too. So, I'll do that. And I even met, another person there, and, I was hanging out with her for a minute, but, I can't like actually fully trust that she's not a perp. So I don't really, it's just like only people from before what I think, when I think the targeting started, is that I'll, actually trust to speak to, to let into my feels. We try not to let people into the feels anymore. It's too difficult. Yeah. I just have a couple more things to chat about, and then I'll end it. It's already been 41 minutes. Jeez, I hope YouTube allows me to upload this. They should. So a couple things. Sometime during this time, I think between job in Vet Med 3 and 4, I went to the FBI. I had no evidence, I have no studies, just complaints, concerns, and like a deep, 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 like desperation for assistance. Because, like I said, at that point, I know fully what's going on. I understand it fully. I mean, no, I don't understand. Let me take that back. I don't understand it, but I do acknowledge what's happening, because I'm able to go, online and, other people, other targets, they're talking about their experiences, and the rabbit hole on being a TI goes deep, but let's not get into that right now. I went to the FBI. The first time I met up with a guy, an agent there, and he laughed. And he was kind of really rude and like disrespectful in a way, like completely discounting what I'm telling him, my experience, telling me that I need mental help. And I'm like, yo, I went there. I did. I tried it. It doesn't work. So ultimately he was like, I was like, so how am I going to, prove that there is real danger, that I'm in danger, that my family's in danger, things like that. And I'm like, do I have to die? Do I have to die in order for like an investigation to start? And he's like, yeah, we'll consider opening an investigation for that. I'm like, jerk. So I convinced him to say something like, if I get a brain scan, if I go to a neurologist and get a brain scan, if I can prove that my brain as it is looks very similar to a normal non-schizophrenic person's brain, would you then take me seriously? Can we open a case after that? And he said, we'll consider it. Prove it to me, get a doctor's signature. So I says, okay. It takes me a really long time. But I end up being able to go back to a neurologist. I got them to order the MRI of my head, and, we do an MRI, and that was a nightmare. They're talking to me in there the whole time. And I discovered that I didn't like being in tight little spaces. So, they got me in this machine, and I'm like, and it's and it's loud everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God, get me out. I survived. I asked for a copy of the scans, and then I take them to the FBI. I try to get my family too. Like, I don't have a disc reader on my laptop, and, my other devices are not going to read that type of disc. So I was unable to view them, but I'd take that to the FBI, with some other information that I had determined would be, relevant to share. And they send me with this other agent. And I swear, this dude, they had me profiled by the time I went back, because they send this vampire-esque looking brother, white fella, no offense, but we're mixed, whatever. Anyway, he's attractive. Unlike the first guy, where I did not think he was attractive. And this other guy had the complete opposite attitude and demeanor. He's presenting himself as someone who wants to be helpful. He's asking me questions. He's taking notes in my responses. The first guy did not. ask questions like that. He did not take notes. Okay. The first guy was just taking everything I said and negating it. Nope. Nope. That doesn't happen. That's not real. You're crazy. And the second guy was like, well, I just want to tell you at this point right now, there's nothing that we can do for you. However, and then he takes the names of the people who I think are responsible. I give them the names of the mountain people. And then he gives me a piece of advice, which was go to university research departments. So I'm like, okay, I have another angle to go to, there's a little bit more hope. Maybe these university research departments can help me. So I do that. I email like 15 to 20 universities, different departments and stuff like that, explaining some things and, giving my contact information and asking for correspondence. Guess how many? Guess how many of the universities in California got back to me? I'll wait. If you guess 0, you're fucking right. Not a single department got back to me, which I suppose is to be expected. The one other TI I met in person also said that they had written universities and nothing had ever come from that. So, I didn't actually talk to the TI in person before getting that advice, or maybe I did. I don't remember. I did meet another. I have met one other TI in person a couple times now. We've kind of had a falling out because being a TI is difficult. Yeah. So yep. Present day, I'm still experiencing the V2K all day, every day. Things seem to be getting worse. They constantly telling me, we're mind controlling you and things like that. And, they're pretty much telling me what I'm going to do before I do it. Like, I'm going to reach and grab my vape and smoke it. But if I wasn't so focused on speaking to you, or really me, you, they would have said something like, pick up your vape and smoke it and tell them you're gonna smoke it, and try to explain it. They try to take credit for things that I have already determined that I want to do. I know where my will comes from. I mean, at least I know what it feels like versus, what it feels like when they try to convince me that they're mind controlling me. That's a lot. They've been doing that for a little while and it's kind of ramping up, intensifying. The predictions, another thing, I think that there's definitely could be some AI in use. Like, I don't know how there couldn't be, because the predictions are so accurate. The AI has had 2 years to study my brain and how it works without me believing that they were there still, with me just trying to live my life as a normal human. They've had 2 years to study that. As far as I'm aware, lots of all these studies make me think, what if it started earlier? What if I have been on a list or whatever since I was younger? And we can go into that at another video since we're rounding on 50 friggin' minutes. But that's what I'm dealing with now. They've also started doing this thing where, I'm trying to... Also, side note, they sleep me. I don't fall asleep anymore. I get slept, if that makes sense. I do get into bed. I make my bed up. I get my puppy situated. I lay down. I put something on my phone to watch. I watch it for a little while, but within 15, 20 minutes, if I don't really fight to stay awake, if I'm not super interested, or if I'm not playing a game of like TFT, like Team Fight Tactics from League of Legends, like if I'm not doing that, they will knock me the out. Okay. And so lately, like within the past maybe month or two, they've been putting me into this space in between conscious and unconscious. I'm not entirely asleep, but I'm not entirely awake, but I'm awake enough to where I'm responding to certain stimuli in my mind. Like sometimes I come to and in my mind, I'm singing a song that I'm making up on the spot. Or I'm like, I don't know, responding to something that consciously I don't know I was responding to. It's kind of like, not like sunken place, but it's kind of like that. It's kind of like between conscious and subconscious, unconscious. That's been one of the more alarming things. That has been really, really alarming to me, because I'm responding to something that I am not awake and fully aware that I'm hearing. And it's very scary. That's what I've been dealing with. And that's partially kind of why I felt inspired to come on here, share my story, try to get and give information. I want to know if other TIs have experienced something like that. Any TIs in the past that you've come across, that you've read, that or watched a video that they've experienced something like that. I don't know. I have a vacation planned in 28 days, leaving the state, and that's been a huge thing that I've been looking forward to, because I haven't left California in a really long time. And it's exciting because on one hand, I'm going out, I'm going to go to New York, and I'm going to see some family, reconnect with some family I haven't gotten a chance to see in a couple years. And, I haven't been to New York in many years, like 2014, 15, many years, But I've also heard from doing a little research that that's like a huge TI hotspot, and it is rough for TIs out there. So, any advice you can give me on that, if you've stuck around for these 51 minutes, hit me up, let me know, post a comment. Okay. So let's end on something positive, some positive things. Not a lot of those, but we have to stay positive. We cannot let them kill the joy. And like I said, I go out. If you like to dance, create, express yourself. Expression helps so much. Being active helps a lot, try to take your mind away from where they want it to be, some news. Richmond, California. Okay. I just learned this yesterday or maybe the day before yesterday, but I think this year or recently, they have started to pass laws regarding neurology companies, companies using neurological data against a consumer. You're a consumer, I'm a consumer. So Richmond is trying to make itself as like a safe haven for TIs. Now, I was in Richmond earlier this year and I was experiencing V2K. So I don't know what all advancements, preventatives they've taken, but they're trying to make that kind of technology illegal out there. So, that's cool, right? Let's look into that and let me know what you find, because, I'm kind of a doofus nowadays and foggy. So, let's see. There's also somewhere in Colorado. I know they had that big TI meeting this year in Colorado, or was it Utah? Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get a chance to go. I wanted to, but it seemed kind of like a trap to me. So I was like, we're good. Somewhere in Colorado, there is a doctor named Sean Pazowski who is trying to get laws passed with the Superior Court regarding, remote neural monitoring, kind of, using that neurological data against a consumer. So that's, we're moving in the right direction for TIs. It's taking a really long time, and we just got to hold in there. We got to stay strong, So, that's some positive news. Other words, try to enjoy your little things. If you have, animals, take care of them. Try to, focus on something other than yourself. Like, take care of yourself, but also, remember that there are things other than yourself, so look into those. And also remember yourself. That's one thing I said at the end of my interview that I thought of that I think would be like, one of the best pieces of advice is like, you are not your targeting. You are not, what they're trying to make you out to be, trying to convince you that you are. They will lie to you. They will deceive you. They will try to do anything to turn you into some kind of animal. And while we are animals, we're not the animal that they want us to be. So remember yourself. Don't forget who you were before you're targeting. Don't forget who you want to be. And if you don't know who you want to be, figure it the fuck out, because you need to have something to work towards. You need to have a goal. If you're aimless, if you're goalless, life's going to be rough for you, man. I don't know what to tell you. Because I've been there. I'm still kind of there, I have aspirations. I have goals. Have aspirations. Have goals. Set goals. Small goals. Short term, medium term, long term goals. Make sure that you try to work towards them. Do something productive for yourself. And sometimes it's just little things. Sometimes it's, today I'm going to dye my hair. Today I'm going to do my nails, today I'm going to walk my dog. Today I'm going to water my garden, anything like that. Today I'm going to fix my car battery. That was me just the other day. And you just got to do the little things and do them for yourself. All right, well, that's it for now. We will maybe post some more things in the future. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Peace.